Barbara Lange. I am here today as volunteer secretariat of Greening and Streaming, and I'm really excited today to be talking to Sam Orton-Jay from Vnova. Talk a little bit about their interest in sustainability, their interest in greening and streaming, how they see the work progressing, and so on. So, Sam, glad to have you with us today. Introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about yourself and Vnova.
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. It's great to be here. Yeah, well, I've been I work as VP of product basically at Vnova, working on how our primarily our MPEG-5 LCVC technology is integrated into various products and services. Yeah, and I've been sort of privileged enough, I guess, to be working with greening and streaming for I guess about 2 years now. We've been members, and primarily I've been helping as chair of the compression working group over that time.
Right. Very appropriate. And we're going to get to that in a bit about the work that you're doing there. Wanted to start out just to sort of reflect a little bit about, what you're seeing in terms of the industry, how you're viewing media tech efforts as it relates to addressing sustainability issues, and kind of what you see, what's working, what's not working, any challenges. Any reflections on that kind of topic?
Yeah, well, I think over the last, particularly over the last 2 years, as I've been much more involved with the topic, I guess my reflection overall at this point is that a lot of good progress has been made. I think particularly around awareness of sustainability as an issue that, as an industry, we really have to be thinking about. But I also think maybe the efforts are, I guess, to my mind, still a little bit patchy and sort of move in slightly fits and starts. I guess I suspect what has happened for a lot of companies is a realization that it's not something we can just fix overnight with a few meetings and measure a few things and be done. It's actually a bit of a long haul. We like a lot of things, we have to systematically work through quite a lot of things together, and therefore it's if I suppose cynically, if you were worried that anyone involved was just doing it for a little bit of marketing messaging at the start of things,
they'll be found out.
Some of those people could be found out because they've dropped out of the process in some cases. But yeah, so I think and I think there's a lot of work to be done to make sure that companies are keeping it on their priority list, trying to get KPIs on people's lists, that sort of thing. But overall, particularly with the work in greening and streaming, I think we've made a decent start on things, let's say.
Yeah, I think I would agree that it's kind of an overwhelming topic, and so we do see these fits and starts, like you say, or pieces, and trying to string them together is I think one of the challenges that I see. But that's why we have groups like Greening and Streaming to kind of bring the industry together. Tell us a little bit about Vnova's journey within the Greening and Streaming, and then about your work specifically within Greening and Streaming.
Yeah, well, I think Vnova, as a company, there was a lot of motivation to join, primarily because we have a technology called MPEG-5 LCVC, which is actually a way to enhance any existing video codec or video compression workflow. So it's very low down in the stack and can apply to media delivery all over the place. And we fundamentally understood that it can reduce and does reduce the sort of complexity of lots of video encoding. So sometimes you might be able to reduce the sort of compute cost, which generally translates to energy consumption, by up to 70% for video compression. So we knew we had a technology that had a lot of potential to help in this space, but obviously trying to fully understand how and maybe where it could best help was rather important to us. So that's why as a company we were very interested to get involved. And I think, particularly on the sort of areas I've been most involved with, and Vinova's been most involved with, we've gone on a journey since then of mostly looking at transcoding and the energy that's used. It's famously a very complex compute-intensive process, looking at the energy that's used there, but also what greening and streaming enables us to do is to look at it holistically and work out if we change something at the start of the workflow, which is typically where encoding sits, what's going to happen further down the workflow as well. So we've, I guess, the working group has mostly been about looking at how we design how to measure things across those workflows, how we measure the energy usage and impact different stages, and moving on more recently to actually doing some measurement, getting some initial results.
Yeah, and that's kind of exciting too, because famously or infamously in our industry, there are no real data points. We've seen it time and time again where reports are presented about energy consumption and therefore carbon footprinting, and it can be misleading. I won't say it's all misleading, but it can be misleading. So real data is really important. One of the things that greening and streaming is there to do. And you are chair of a working group, right? What working group is that, Sam?
It's working group number 6. Which is focused on compression, but I think we've been kind of actively involved in quite a few areas as it's become more about our lesser chord projects. So we're also, as a working group, looking after the transcoding sort of part of the project here of the lesser chord. So
you're very active. Lots of time to be spent with greening and streaming. But a good group, I think you have a good collection of industry people to help you, right, in the working group.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we've had some service operators. We've had other compression encoder vendors. And I think maybe to that sort of it's useful. I think across, obviously we're just sharing information internally, and that's going out to the different vendors, in particularly around compression, and they're able to speak to their customers about it. I think the value of what we discuss and what comes out of greening and streaming, even though sometimes a working group might just be six or 8 people, that what we discuss quite quickly gets proliferated out into the industry.
Yeah. And you recently participated in the greening of streamings as part of the MTSS Summit a couple of weeks ago. You participated there, and I guess you'll also be reporting out at IBC, I imagine, as well, as part of the greening and streaming effort there. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. Well, let's say just a final question then. I've been asking everybody sort of the blue sky question. So if you could wave your hand, with all these challenges that we do have, in terms of sort of navigating the sustainability world in the media sector, if you could wave your magic wand, what would you see or like to see that would possibly have the greatest impact on sustainability in our industry? What do you think?
Well, if you'll let me have 2, Barbara, I think there are
okay. I'll give you 2. Okay.
One is
give you 2.
One is more of a consumer focused item, and I'm not the first person to mention it at all, of course, but I think there's so much that particularly service operators can do to start marketing campaigns primarily, I guess, about and actually communicating to their viewers, their consumers, the sort of things they might actually be able to do to reduce the energy impact, just making them aware, because obviously the vast majority of people, I think, don't even realize that their TV at home is quite an energy consuming device. It's like an old light bulb. So
Right.
things like it is very likely that things like turning the brightness down on your TV, not necessarily using HDR, or and just being conscious that maybe turning it off. You know, these things would obviously, if you're at the consumer level, multiply it by a million times, and you might have some impact. So there's that one. More within our industry, the thing I think would make a terrific difference is for people in, with enough clout in these organizations at a corporate level, just ask their teams to start measuring and working out what their targets on energy consumption should be, because just trying to establish KPIs will immediately mean that people, teams have to sort of think, well, I don't have a way of measuring that data point, or I need to ask this supplier to, how do I measure this data point? And we know there are loads of areas in these workflows that are just very difficult to measure at the moment. So that would be my two little.
It's interesting.
quick
Yeah,
ones.
because it's what as the saying goes, if you can't really measure what you don't know, right? So, or you can't improve what you don't know if you don't measure it. So measuring is pretty critical. Yeah.
Just being able to measure some of these things remains the primary challenge. I think there are so many areas, just things like how much energy is my mobile phone using while I'm watching this video, just the operating systems just don't tell you. So it's not easy to work out.
And one of the things that, as part of greening of streaming, another working group's working on is the device measurement. So using a smart plug, if people use smart plugs, they could instantly on their phone see how much their television is using in terms of energy. So baby steps. Well, Sam, thanks so much for joining me today and telling us your VNova story. And thanks for all that you're doing, and VNova donating your time really to supporting greening of streaming and helping make a big difference. So thanks so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks, Barbara.